Welcome to the Wellness Amazon podcast, where we talk about everything body, mind, and spirit, health, and wellness. No subject is taboo here, and we have fun peeling back all the layers. Let's do this. Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of the Wellness Amazon podcast. And today I'm welcoming Ash Mars to the podcast, and we're going to talk about something that I know nothing about. And that's why I'm even more excited, because she's going to enlighten us today and share her wealth of knowledge with us. And we're going to be more educated after this podcast episode. And we're going to talk about the soul release method that she does. Welcome, Ash, to the podcast. Glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, Lena. I really appreciate it.
All right. What is it that you do, and how did you get there? Who are you?
So let me start with who I am, and then we'll get into the soul release method. So I am Ash Mars, and I have been on my own just healing journey. I think about it as my eat, pray, love journey, really going through this process of deconstructing my life and rebuilding it back up. And it, for me, was triggered by all of that pressure that we get in society and our family and to perform. And so I had hit the peak of my career. My history was with teaching and in education. I had become an administrator where I was working across 16 schools, and I was leading coaching and development for around 600 people at a given time. And it was like everything that I should be doing, everything that everyone tells me that should bring you happiness. And yet I felt really unfulfilled inside. And that was when I realized I needed to do something else. I had followed somebody else's playbook and it wasn't working. So I left, I quit that job and started on this journey. And this journey led me to create the soul release method.
Wow. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people can resonate with what you just said, because we've all been there, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we get stuck in that in society for sure.
yeah.
So the soul release method is my bringing together of all of these different modalities. It's meditation, movement, and mindful integration. I did a huge study. I went to Naropa, which is a Buddhist college. I traveled to Nepal. I went on vision quests. I studied somatics and body healing. And all of that is infused inside of the soul release method. It's everything that was the best of that distilled into one practice that when people practice with me, what they say is, I'm recovering rest, right? Rest that I never felt like I was able to have. I feel like I've connected with a creative energy that I didn't realize I had. And what I've noticed for myself and for other people is it then becomes a manifestation practice of stepping into that next level of self, that next evolution of who you are. And that's the real transformative power of the soul release method.
How did you get to the name?
That's good. That's a good question. Lots of deep diving into what is what is the access point. One of the parts of it is really connecting with the subconscious, as well as that level where we connect with our consciousness to the unconscious realms or the energetic realms or their soul realms, however you kind of define that. And that point is that soul release, right? We're releasing the soul into this body, right? We're waking up. We're allowing ourselves to reconnect with our internal power, and that's all it's designed to do, and where that name comes from. Yeah.
What are some common misconceptions that people have about what you do?
I think, let's see. When folks walk through the door, they aren't sure what they're going to get. And I think it can be really challenging for people to access meditation and movement. We're taught that movement is exercise, or movement is dance and performative, and designed to be pleasing to somebody else's eye. And in the somatic work that we do in accessing and resetting the nervous system in the way that we do, it's about um, building comfort and building ease in the body. And so instead of it being like a performative dance for other people or a workout that you go to the gym for. It's about tapping into a part of the nervous system. And what we use is a tremoring process. And this comes from somatic psychologists like Peter Levine and a few others that are kind of doing this research that talks about how the nervous system um, we've been wired historically, right?
Mhm.
When we were out hunting and gathering, if we saw a threat, our nervous systems had to respond really quickly because we had to run away. And when we are getting that phone call now from our boss or driving to work, when we are experiencing these low level anxieties, our nervous systems are still responding with this huge fight or flight. And the body can get stuck there, right? It can get
Mhm.
stuck in this place of elevation. And so what Peter Levine and other psychologists are using, and what I've brought into the soul release method, is the tremoring process, which is allowing the body to finish feeling that anxiety. So it's not stuck in the body, but it's truly released. It's truly allowed to process through the body itself. And then what that gives us space for is relaxation and rest, and to reset the nervous system of like, oh, there is safety here. The drive to my job doesn't need to be this thing that feels like a 10. It feels safe. That call from my boss doesn't feel like a 10. It feels safe. And when our bodies are wired for safety, we then respond differently, right? So when the boss calls and they're like, hey, you need to come into the office, or hey, I need to talk to you, instead of feeling anxious and then having a conversation um, that kind of brings about that negative call, that negative dialogue, we actually are in a space of, okay, I'm here to handle this. Whatever they say, like, I can find a solution for that. And so when we talk about manifestation, it is that, right? It is stepping into that next level of self. But the reason why is because our bodies are now responding differently to the environment. And then we're creating differently around us. We see our creative potential. We step into our capacity for solutions, and knowing that whatever comes our way, we can still achieve the things that we want, or we can get to the vision of ourselves that we have for our future.
Mhm. So it sounds like the when you're stuck in that stress, fight or flight mode all the time, which most of us really are probably,
Yeah.
you can't manifest because you're stuck in that negative energy.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a distillation, right?
Mm,
Yeah, I think that that sounds right. Yeah.
yeah. So it sounds like your method is almost like the ultimate guide to get
Mm,
people out of that, which is a lizard brain thing that we still have in the modern world, and we're constantly overstimulated and gets people out of this. And then it seems like it's just an easier living, right? After you have worked through
mhm.
that.
Yeah, yeah, I think that that's a good summary of what a lot of people experience. It's the ease of life, and when we live in ease, we realize that, we don't have to struggle, that the things that we need will just come to us, that life
Yeah.
is abundant, that we are abundant. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Would you say that when we skip that what you just said, we're getting stressed, we have the tremors, we were actually acting with nature, and we don't let ourselves do that anymore, right? We get right stuck in that in between kind of thing. That
Mhm.
is also the cause for the body storing that trauma in the
Mm,
body.
mhm. Yeah, what the research is saying for us is that we don't give ourselves opportunities to fully process it, and we're
Mm,
never really taught. When we're kids, right, we get a lot of conversations from parents. I have a 10-month-old right now, and as I'm working with them, as they're, screaming and yelling and understanding the world around them, like, okay, like, how do I help you to process
Mhm.
this? And so even right now at 10 months, it's like when I leave the room, it is a full panic. They're like, you're going to
Oh,
disappear for forever. Their
right.
brains, like you were saying, their lizard brains don't understand that I'm going to come back. And working on with them building that safety, working with them of like your feelings and your emotions, like you can feel safe with that. It's
Mhm.
okay when you hit your head that you have this big emotion. I know I was told, I'm sure a lot of us were told, oh, be quiet, or it's not that big of a deal, or you don't have to worry about this. It's, just let it go. And what that does is it shuts down our body's processing. It shuts down our natural ability for the nervous system to release that. It doesn't give us an avenue to fully just like, oh, it happened, and I can reach that peak and then I can re-regulate down. And that's the polyvagal theory of the nervous system, which is essentially we get into these peaks and then we come back down. But what a lot of us have gotten into, and so we start to feel like our natural state is elevated.
Mhm.
This is why I, right, in my story, I hit that peak of my career and I was still like, I don't feel happy. I still feel anxious. Still feel like the life I'm living is not enough, that there's something missing, was because of what I was experiencing internally. And I didn't have any language for it. I didn't have any tools for it.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of us are in that boat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and with it sometimes comes also like guilt or shame because we feel like, well, I should be happy.
Yeah.
There's no
Yes.
logical reason why I'm not. What's wrong with me,
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
There's must be something wrong with me because
Mhm.
I don't have satisfaction, or I should be feeling grateful for this, right? We essentially we've learned to spiritually bypass and gaslight ourselves into that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're the biggest gaslighters ever.
Yeah.
Ourselves. And what reminded me when you were talking about children, this is
Mm,
also something that I've heard before, and I'm totally guilty of this when a child is not okay and you say, you're fine, you're okay, as like a soothing thing to say,
yeah.
which is always coming from the best intention, but it
Exactly.
actually creates a negative image because I don't feel okay and you're telling me I'm okay. So something is not quite right and maybe this is the way I'm feeling is now the norm.
Hmm.
Um yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. We do say it out of the best intentions. We're not saying it because you know, we know that long term our babies are going to be okay, right? When I walk out of the room, I know I'm coming back and that like
Right.
my kiddo's going to be okay, but it's not okay for them in this moment. They don't understand that.
Yeah.
And so it taught me, what it teaches a lot of people is to distrust how we feel inside of ourselves. What we say is like, oh, well, other people are better judges of how I'm feeling than I am.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the power elements of the soul release method, is connecting you back with what am I feeling? And that's I can name it. I can move through it. I can decide which direction I'm going to take it. I can make an active choice of if I want to follow that feeling or not because I have awareness. Um, but yeah, it's absolutely, and I think about my parents, and I think about even my first instinct with my own little baby is
Uh-huh.
to say like, it's okay, or it's gonna be okay. Like this isn't a big deal, but
Right.
it invalidates them. It makes them feel like, well, but it's my biggest deal. I only have 10 months of experiences on this planet.
Yeah.
This is you leaving the room is the biggest deal I've ever had. So
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, our kids are older now, but I always said to my husband, I always said, you always need to listen to the little stuff.
yeah,
Because if you don't listen to the little stuff, I don't know what happened today at some cartoon or whatever, then they're not
yeah,
going to tell you the big stuff later. It's this, periodic safety feeling of, yeah,
mhm,
I'm validated. Whatever I tell you that's a big deal for me, it really
yes.
is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Hmm.
it's your truth and to respect that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we don't get that, many of us are still not getting that on
Yeah.
a day to day. And then that becomes our inner voice when we were saying we're the biggest gaslighters. It's not because we want to be. It's because that's what the world around us has taught us to do, to
Mhm.
invalidate our own internal existence. Yeah.
Yeah. It's even the little things, and I'm the this is the I don't know how other people feel, but for me, that's the biggest hurdle I have encountered in my life is self-talk and how that
Mhm.
self-talk sounds.
Yeah.
Because even if something is quite it's just a little off, the way I say, "What is wrong with me?" It sounds
Yeah.
negative. It already sounds negative the way I'm saying it to myself. Like there
Mhm.
should not be anything wrong with me, and it's wrong that there is.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And what the toolbox that the soul release method uses for that is the meditation, right? That I'm just simply curious. What's happening? What's happening in my space right now? And so instead of it being a judgment of it's a good or bad feeling that I'm experiencing, it's like just what is happening? Let me ask little questions. Let me be in that childhood state of being curious about the feelings I'm having or what's coming up for me instead of feeling like what's wrong, what's bad, what's no longer, that framing. Yeah, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
big shift. It
Yeah.
seems small, but it makes a big shift for folks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And since when you're describing your method, that you essentially you invented this, right? You
Hmm.
took
Yeah.
different elements and you put them together in the right order, the right place, like a puzzle piece. How
Yeah.
did you get there? When did you know that? Well, first of all, I have to do something.
Yeah.
Second, I think I know what to do, and then third, that final like this is it. This is now it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I knew, well, when I knew for myself that life wasn't working, right? That's when I knew I had to do something. And that's what sent me on the journey of gathering all of the tools. And from a lot of the people I encounter, we do that a lot, right? We're looking for somebody else to have an answer for us, to somehow put the pieces of our life and the puzzle elements of our life together. And that was when I started looking and looking and looking, and then I just was like, I'm hearing the same voice over again, or I already have this tool in my toolbox. There really isn't anything new that's solving or helping me to move the dial. That's when I realized, okay, actually, I have the toolbox that I need. That I just need to put the puzzle pieces together. I need to figure that out. And then I was doing, and I have been doing a lot of one-to-one coaching and development with people. It's been a blend of this work and realizing what cycles, what patterns I was taking people through that were really consistent. What was the language? What were the themes of what I was doing to hold the container and to build that safe space with people? That's when I realized, and that's how I distilled the soul release method down, was from practice with both myself, my family, the people around me, and realizing, yeah, like this could help a lot of different people if it was brought into the same cycle, into the same session with people as well. So what I do now is I do a group version of it, which is more of like a little bit of a taster, because in
Uh-huh.
groups you're and I do drop-in classes, so those it's not like super significantly deep work, but it's definitely an introduction. And then I still work with people one-on-one, and I'm actually launching in January a longer 6-week cycle where we're going real deep in and creating like really intense manifestations. And that's the helpful part of creating a vehicle of people and a cohort that is really committed to the work, is that shared and combined healing and that shared and combined energy to move things forward.
Mhm. Mhm. So when we talk about soul release, my first instinct was like, wait, what? No, I don't want to release my soul. But now I understand it's not like, no, no, we're releasing the things that are trapping, the layers that need to be peeled around your soul.
Yes. 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 Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
And that course, is this online or is that in person?
I do a hybrid of things. So I'm located
Awesome.
in Florida and I work with people in person. I also work with folks online. Yep.
Awesome. Because when we put your info in the show notes, then everybody essentially can go and find you.
Yeah.
Um,
Fantastic.
what is the most common theme or reason why people seek you out and say, I need this?
Yeah. I'd say a lot of people, what they identify in their life is career transition. I think that's a
Mm,
big point in our society where we're like, something's not working for me in my job. And it's a place where it's acceptable to ask for help when you're struggling with your
uh-huh,
career. The other group of folks that I see, people going through divorce, really big relationship
uh-huh,
changes. And then as time goes on, people who have realized that they are in burnout or who are recovering from burnout tend to find their
uh-huh.
way to me because the deep sense of ease and connection, reconnection with yourself, they're realizing that's what they're really seeking. Yeah.
Wow. Those are big, three big life changing situations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I always say your job or your career is essentially just another relationship that you have because you spend so much
Exactly.
time there. You probably spend more time there than with your actual spouse or partner, you know?
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It
I yeah.
should be a good choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so when people come to you, what should they expect so that they're, know a little bit what's coming?
Yeah. So the one-to-one work is very tailored to individual people.
Uh,
We do a lot of intake and building safety and co-creating the container together. We go through cycles of meditation. So that meditation is like I was saying, it's kind of building an awareness and a curiosity of what's happening inside of our space. I use a journey style of meditation where as well and that is looks like hypnosis if people are familiar with hypnosis therapies, and it's one that I learned in my own journey of metaphysics and gained when I was doing training as a medium. And so that's one of the primary meditations that I use as well. The movement portion is then taking what we gained in the meditation, right? In the subconscious mind, in those deeper layers of our consciousness and bringing that forward, right? How does my body move now that I am my higher self? How do I feel in my physical space now that I am my higher self, right? And we kind of pinpoint that and get some guidance through that. And then the last portion is that mindful integration. And so that's when we take the subconscious layers that we've then kind of infused into our body and each of our cells, and we bring it forward into our conscious minds. And this is where we do that cognitive piece, right? A lot of folks start with mantras or they start with, oh, I need to attack my brain and where my brain is going. And that's actually the last thing that we do
mhm,
because we what I understand and what I through the work that I've done, it's what's coming through our energy bodies, what's coming through our
mhm,
soul, what's coming through my nervous system, and what are the messages my nervous system is giving me. And that's what's actually shaping what's going on inside of my mind. And now that I have an awareness of these underlying layers, I can actually direct my mind towards what I want to feel, right? When I start to
mhm,
feel anxious, when I start to feel myself going to that old patterning, it's like, oh, I have an imprint in my body of safety. I have an imprint in my body of that higher self or that next level self. I'm going to redirect myself there and I'm going to hold myself in that space. And that's where life just transforms around us and just falls into place. So a session goes through each of those three parts. The length of those can kind of vary based on what we're doing. And then if it's individual work, it's really tailored to an individual person's outcome. The group classes that I lead online in my Facebook group and then also in person in the Florida area where I'm at, those ones tend to have a shared intention with who's in the room for that day. So we spend some time doing that together. And then the course that I have coming up in January, it's all about manifestation and stepping into that next level of yourself for the next year and starting the year off really stepping into, what's my next level of abundance? What's the next level that I want for myself in my life? And where is that coming internally instead of the shoulds or, how it's been defined for me from others?
yeah. That's amazing because when you said imprinting, that you have these imprints in you, we have so many negative ones, and then you coming in and realizing too that, oh, we can also do this the other way around. We can put
Yeah,
positive imprints there. Mhm.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some effects that people are having while they're doing this work? And I'm asking because out of personal experience, I know it's not always pretty, right?
Yeah. 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 Let's see. So it can be it can be mild, right? And I think that sometimes we don't give value to the small change, right? When
Mhm.
I'm just exploring, like, what is this pain in my jaw right here? Let me just tremor that just a little bit. And we think we have to have this huge release. And it looks real good on our TikToks and it looks real good where
Right.
you've got people just like bawling their eyes out and
Right.
screaming. And I like, yes, that also can happen. But creating a container where that's safe to happen is really, really important, and also valuing and knowing, how do I access something that's small so that when something big comes, I know how to touch it
Mhm.
and I know how to touch it safely, and then I also know how to step away and to release when it is too much, when there are things in my nervous system that might be too much for me to access, because some of those processes, right, the ones where people are bawling and screaming and all of that, yes, our bodies sometimes need that, but sometimes our bodies aren't ready for that either.
Right.
And we need to know that we can process that safely, and that we can step away from that and um, not kind of lose ourself and our identity on the other side of something like that too.
Yeah. It's something very common too that people can't cry
Yeah.
because that safety is like what you said, that groundwork is not there yet.
Do it in a way that feels safe, and to say like, okay, my body's testing. It's testing the waters. Can I have a single tear and still be safe? Okay, next time I can come back and I can have the big cry that my body's been needing for that whole 20 years. Yeah. Yeah.
And it sounds like what's beautiful what you do is there's not only just this release, but because you're talking about the positive imprint, it's almost like now we fill that void that we just created, right?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of healing work, it can get focused on, oh, just release the negativity,
Mhm.
right? Just let go of that. Well, my mind's still gonna think, my nervous system's still gonna function.
Right.
What do I do instead? What do I feel instead of this thing? Um, with behavior change, we see the same thing. It's like, oh, I don't want to smoke or watch so much television, but it's like, what are you going to do instead? Like,
Mhm.
there's a reason why you're doing that thing. There's a reason why you're smoking or watching television or eating the things that you are eating. It's filling a need for you. And the cognitive work, the like brain work, has been to seek that out and to replace it. And with
Mhm.
the soul release method, it's, how can I just access safety in my nervous system and then make a choice from that sense of ease, right? So instead of, um, with like nutrition or the things that people are eating, where it's like, okay, I'm still going to maybe eat the same thing that I wanted to eat, but I'm going to eat it with gratitude, or I'm going to eat
Mhm.
it with mindfulness and with a sense of satisfaction. So that instead of needing to eat the entire pie, I'm only eating a slice of the pie. Or realizing, you know what, I already have a sense of ease inside of myself. I don't need that slice of pie anymore.
Mhm.
And that's one of the big shifts is focused on, okay, what do I want to feel in my body? Now, what choices do I make so that I have that feeling in my body?
Mhm. Would you say that sometimes this, let's say, for example, negative self talk or
Mhm.
certain not so constructive behaviors are a form of addiction?
Mm. I would say, let's see, when we think about addiction, I think about our body's need to find a sense of stability, right? And sometimes the stability is in things that elevate us, right? So if we're really used to always being elevated, we're going to actively seek that out. And that can be television and eating, that can be smoking, that can also be your job. It
Uh-huh.
can be the fight with your partner because our bodies are like, oh, in order for this to feel complete, I've always gone through this cycle, right? If I don't get to the point that I'm, feeling anxious or yelling and screaming at somebody, then it's not done, right? And that's the big thing is when we talk about addiction, it's our bodies, they feel this need to do something and we're not aware of it. We're not I don't even necessarily want to use like the word control, but
Mhm.
it's happening to us without us even sometimes having an awareness that it's occurring. And the soul release method builds the space. It builds the space between a stimulus, right? I have a trigger and then the response. What am I going to do with that trigger? So if the trigger is, it's just 5 o'clock, and 5 o'clock is the time I turn the television on, or the trigger is this thing happened again between me and my spouse, and whatever that is, it's like, okay, that's the trigger. How do I, instead of just responding, instead of just for me, it's nitpicking at my partner. It's absolutely what I do, right?
Right.
Instead of nitpicking, instead of just turning the television on mindlessly, how do I want to feel? Okay, all right, this is how my higher self feels. I felt that in my body before. It's no longer this like imaginary picture of this human being that is untouchable or unreachable. It's like, no, I know inside of myself how that next level version of me feels. And
Mhm.
so, because of that, now I'm going to feel that. Now, what choice does that person make? How does that person respond to this?
Yeah. Very important. I'm glad
Yeah.
that that's included in your method.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes too, it's a habit and it's almost like a ritual also that goes on like like with the TV or people that smoke or whatnot. It's a ritual to
Yeah.
do that at a certain time. So
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly. And and I don't, I think there's nothing bad with those things. It's everything in moderation, right? At what point is it helping us to re-regulate or to get ourselves to a state of calm? And then at what point have we just become zombies and we're just
Mhm.
doing it because we're going through the motions? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not we usually don't do it mindfully. It's
Yeah.
an autopilot thing. And it sounds like what you're doing is bringing us back into that conscious and subconscious. You need to
Yes.
be here. You need to be on earth. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. It's a
Yeah.
great way to put it.
Yeah. We had when I had the episode with the hypnotherapist, she was a lot talking about how we are constantly in hypnosis. We're
Mhm.
constantly not
Yeah.
quite there. And we do things that we don't even realize we're doing it. And we just do it because we have always done it. That's
Yeah.
kind of like the answer.
Yeah. Yep. And
Yeah.
so much of what we've experienced in our life has put us there, right? A lot of the technology we're accessing, or just, we go through the same day over and over again. I
Uh-huh.
remember I worked a cube job, a job in a cubicle for about 4 years. And that period of my life, it feels like a week. It's like, because
Yeah.
I had the same day and day over and over again. And
Yeah.
that, the Groundhog's Day experience where it's like, oh,
Hmm.
yeah, it was 4 years of my life, but I don't remember the 4 years. It could have been a week, it could have been a month. I have no idea. I was so just disembodied
Hmm.
and present with my life. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when the body awareness goes out the window because we do things out of habit, not because we need it. And that's when, what you're talking about, everything gets kind of like buried down too, because we don't sit with ourselves either.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so hard. It can be really, really hard to sit with
Hmm.
ourselves when we've never been brought the tools, or we've been told that what we're experiencing internally is bad or wrong or
Hmm.
something that needs to be fixed. And yeah, that's the challenge because nothing is bad or wrong inside of you.
Yeah.
But it can be really hard when that's our framing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We label everything. Yeah. So you were just mentioning too that all the things that you incorporate in it and that are talents of yours too. So you said you're a medium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I have training in mediumship. I don't work as a medium these days at all, but I have
Mhm.
I have in the past. And and then lots of meditation work as well as being an educator in my background as well. Um, Somatic processing, and I ran a center program for young people with autism. And so a lot of like behavior training. We did a lot of work with kids. And then
Mhm.
also just like teaching kids how to live in the world because young
Uh-huh.
people the young people with autism that I was working with, they couldn't just watch social interactions, they couldn't just like watch people and get it. So we were doing a lot
Right.
of like teaching of like, oh yeah, this is how you have an interaction with another person and how you have a back and forth with people. And that's
Mhm.
where a lot of my understanding of like, oh, this is natural for folks, but it's not natural for everybody. But when it's not natural for you and you have to bring your awareness to how to build it, that builds that space between stimulus and response where you're like, oh, it's usually natural for people to just respond in certain ways, but not for everyone.
Mhm.
So yeah, a little bit of my background. Yeah.
There's a lot of non-autistic adults that would need a class with you just about that. 'Cause I think sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. I
You
would say my generation, we have needed direct training or direct teaching in just adulting, right? How do I
Mhm.
make a meal for myself? How do I take
Yeah,
care of myself? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Adulting is hard. It's very
Yeah.
hard. Um, do you have some and this might be a very, out there question, but do you have some success stories of people that come to you and that just, find a I don't know, I don't wanna say a completely different life after this, but where it's very obvious that something shifted?
Yeah. I would say, yeah, I do. One of the clients that I was working with, she and I worked together for quite a long period of time. And that was when I was really designing the soul release method. So we were kind of co creating that together. But she went from working at a job where she was underpaid and really wasn't valued for what she was doing. And she really just wanted a promotion. I think that was part of why she had hired
Mhm,
me as her coach was like, I just want to get ahead at this job and I want them to see all of the amazing things that I can bring to them. She was really seeking that outward validation, right? She wanted the title, she wanted the pay, all of that. And as we were working together, she realized that it actually wasn't, she was just seeking that from somebody else and that wasn't coming from her herself. It wasn't coming from her internally. So she
mhm,
started doing some consulting with other companies. She started to see that like actually the things that my job isn't valuing me for, other jobs do see and they are valuing for me. She then started applying for other jobs and she decided she did not go the same route that I did. She didn't need to explode her life the way that I did. But she found another job where she was able to have more life balance. And then she also realized that there were other things she wanted from her life. So she was married and she realized that the job she was currently in when we had started together was never going to give her space to have a baby or to do the things that she
mhm,
wanted in her personal life. And so the new job that she found paid her more. She worked less hours and then she had the kiddo. She started, I think her husband and her are still trying to have a baby, but she realized that that was one of the directions that she wanted to go
yeah,
and what she wanted out of her life. And it didn't have to all be about, um, you know, the job and other people's praise or validation of who she was, that she could find that internally and that she wanted to share her life with a loved one and she wanted to give more focus to that. A few other folks that I've worked with, yeah, a lot of career successes because that's what people were bringing me for. I was working with one gal who she didn't believe in her skill set at all. And
mm,
over the period of time that we worked together, she changed jobs 5 times in about 2 years. And then she finally got to a career. She like took one job where they paid her a bunch of money, but it was like super stressful and not what she wanted. But she didn't know that because She was like, this job is paying me buco bucks. I have achieved the thing that I set out to do, which is to make a bunch of money. She was so miserable doing it.
Huh.
And a job came up that paid a lot less. And but it was for a company that she really believed in and had a mission that she was really excited about. And so that's the job she's
Yeah.
still doing. And she's like, I'm surrounded by a team of people that believe in me. I love the work that I do every day, and I feel really valued. I feel like the skills I bring to the table, they just match. And because she's now in a role that she feels that from her day to day, she's not as stressed. And so she's like, I've picked up these hobbies. She started surfing. She started doing all the things that she's like, I feel like a kid again. I feel like I'm 16 and living my best life, even though I'm, 40 at this point, right? And that those are the things that I get
Mhm.
really excited about because as I started this, right, I felt like I had to have this eat, pray, love experience, this thing where I went through a divorce and everything in my life imploded. Man, that sucks. And so many people also don't have the ability to do that. Most
Yeah.
folks don't have the ability to be like, I'm just not going to work for years and I'm going to go like live in a meditation commune in parts of the country, right? And like the things that I did where it's like most people can't do that with their life,
Uh-huh.
and we shouldn't have to either. We can heal and we can rest and restore and repair right where we are, but we need the tools to do that. So watching the people around me not have to go through the same um, big deconstruction, but to find happiness right where they are and to access more of that in small shifts. Sometimes it's tiny little changes that lead to huge outcomes, and sometimes it's bigger. And being able to be part of that, it gives me a lot of joy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I bet. I mean, wow. Um, do you ever feel that it's hard or well, maybe let me ask in a different way. So your
Mhm.
method, let's say people are done, right? They did
Yeah.
it, they had that breakthrough, they're more in connection with themselves, they have clarity, which I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a lot of deprogramming that you're doing too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but also there's programming constantly all around us. It never stops. Is this, how do you armor people to be
Mhm.
done and not get again in this
Yeah.
negative programming that's all around us?
Yeah. I think you brought up a good point of the ritual elements of it, right?
Uh,
And so that's part of what I do with folks, and rituals can change as well. But turning it into something that's ritualized for folks.
mm,
And what I notice with people and even myself is there are times when we need to go deep and we really need to hold on to kind of that next evolution and those skills. And then there are some times when it's like, it's okay. It's okay to kind of drift away and but also to know that you still have those tools in your toolbox if you find that you've lost yourself a little bit or that you're ready for the next evolution of who you are and you're ready for that. So anchoring it with ritual is one of the big parts. When I talk about the stimulus and the response, right? How do I bring myself back to that? How do I maintain that? Um, we do some journaling processes, and then there's also kind of four main rituals that I work with folks for building for themselves. There's one that builds energy, one that builds calm, one that is a celebration of gratitude that I call our hashtag winning ritual, and then one for self reflection, which typically is for
mm,
folks at journaling or like an art kind of ritual.
uh-huh.
And so people step away with that in their set of tools to come back to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important because I think what you do is so profound, but then I don't want to go out in the world and within a week it's all back to where it was because
Yeah.
it's just a constant. I mean,
Yeah.
we're getting bombarded every day if we don't change, yeah, the ways we're getting exposed to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
And that can be one of the challenges of doing like a retreat setting is you go and you have this amazing experience for 2 or 3 days, but your lived experience, your day-to-day life has
yeah.
not changed. And it takes a while. It takes a while for our 3D reality, for our reality around us to transform. And how do we stay centered in ourselves? How do we reconnect and or revalidate, right? Like, no, there's
Mhm.
safety here. No, this is what my next level self is and how I feel, even when our reality around us doesn't match that. And that can be where people start to self doubt and to let those, well, what was happening before, it's still happening. So it's just more proof that this did or didn't work. Um, and what I find for folks is the real breakthrough is slow and steady, right? It's
Mhm.
not huge transformations. It's I have a tool set. And the way that I talk about it with folks is just how long can you hold on to that new imprint for yourself? And can you
Mhm.
expand that time so that it's, 30 seconds today, 5 minutes tomorrow? And then it becomes just your natural state. And you're like, oh, it's been days or weeks that I've felt that next level self inside of me. And I didn't even notice that my life around me has transformed. Um, for me, what I notice, because I never know what other people's opinions are, right? They tell me their stories, but I can share with you more what happens inside of my mind is I'll get like 6 months later and I'm like, I'll have a thought and I'm just like, whoa, I haven't had that thought in months. That used to be my everyday reality. That used to be the
Mhm.
thing that stressed me and occupied my mind 90% of the time. And I just had the thought and I realized it's been so long. Can I remember the last time I thought that way or I felt that way about me? And those are the moments when I'm like, okay, that's when this real change is actually solidified in my system. That the recurrence is now the odd point instead of the norm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the beauty when you realize that it's
Mhm.
probably the biggest aha moment ever then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
When people are one-on-one clients with you and you can
mhm,
really, obviously see their journey because they're just working so closely with you. Is
yeah.
there a big time difference between people? How long they need on their journey?
Yeah, I would say, let's see. It kind of depends on where people are at and how much they are desiring to do in this moment. I
Mm,
think about my journey and where I got to wanting to deconstruct my entire life. I had hit some pretty like low levels. Like I'd hit my rock bottom for that. And I think for some people, I am on their journey just picking up another tool, right? Just and that's absolutely fine. I'm happy to be another tool in your toolbox as you go through
mhm,
your healing process. And then so for some folks, I am an answer. And those are the people that they might be with me for a longer period of time, several years doing one-on-one work. But it's also been a real reason why, because I wanted to make it more accessible. It's the reason for doing the group classes and for doing the program that we're starting in January is that one-to-one and the amount of time that takes. Not everybody has that.
mhm,
And I wanted to make this more accessible. Yeah.
right. And it's like you said, if somebody is in that group setting and then decides, "Hey, I need more," that's still an
Mhm.
option.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so you said January is
Yep.
the group starting, okay.
Yep.
But then one-on-one is at any given time.
Yep. I'm currently we've got spots for, I think, 2 clients one-on-one right now. And then the group programming virtually is on my Facebook group, which is the
Mhm.
Soul Release Circle. And then in person, I'm teaching at a couple of studios out here in Melbourne, Florida.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful over there.
Yeah.
So if anybody is there, you might wanna go, and then you go to the beach after.
Right.
Thank you so much for being on the show. This was fabulous. I really loved how, and it's just a common theme too. We always get to that same point of outside programming, and you need to
Yeah.
just, get more in touch, and we need more people like you that help people
Yeah.
like us to get there because it's not the easiest thing to do that on your own. You need
Yeah.
someone who holds your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. And to do it in community where we have connection and we're not doing it alone is also just so key to know that we're not the only ones working to on that reprogramming of ourselves, that there are communities where we can find acceptance is
Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such an honor to get to facilitate and create those spaces for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and obviously it's really a power move too, because when you're in your own power and what you do, protecting people afterwards too, so they can go out in the world and not be so susceptible anymore for all of this stuff that's around us. Um, I mean, if everybody would do that, holy cow, the world
Yeah.
would be a better place, right?
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah.
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 We're getting there.
One person at a time, Ash.
Exactly.
It's like the
Yeah.
starfish story, one person at a
Yes.
time.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lena.
Well, thank you for being here, educating us, and really thank you for doing the things you do. It's a
Yeah.
very honorable work. And yeah, I will get all your info in the show notes so people can maybe do that in January and start there. And that sounds amazing.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lena, for the opportunity and your work to amplify these voices. It makes a huge difference. So
Yeah,
appreciate you.
that's what it's all about. Slashing the misconceptions and hopefully opening people's minds about these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Like, subscribe, share, do all the things, and we see you next week.
Awesome.
Bye. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, a review, and share it with somebody you think needs this. Have a fabulous day. See you next time.